Hi everyone, welcome back to the Blood Ties podcast. I'm Molly Wansell and I'm here with my father Geoffrey Wansell.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Blood Ties 2.0.
Blood Ties reboot. We're a few episodes in, we probably don't need to keep saying,
we won't.
Do we?
No, I think
Well, I suppose
for a while.
It is still 2.0.
For a while.
It's not the Blood Ties of before.
No. We're both older.
You keep saying that, Dad. Is it because it's coming up to your birthday?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, but you went to the seaside this weekend.
I did go to the seaside, yeah.
Oh, that's
it was really
wonderful.
nice. Yeah, it was lovely. Went for a swim in the sea.
Did you, by Jove?
Yeah. It's my second UK sea swim this year.
My goodness me, I haven't swum in the sea for at least 30 years, maybe more. Crikey.
Yeah. When's the last time you wore a swimsuit?
Can't remember. I mean, I've got one.
Got one.
But no, I don't really.
I don't remember when that would be either.
No, crikey.
Geoffrey is good at swimming. You were a fun pool dad when we were
Yeah,
kids.
we had good times.
We did. We had fun times.
Yeah.
Fun pool times.
And what have I done? Oh, I went to a lunch party at the Cavalry and Guards Club in Piccadilly, which was I was age appropriate, I would say.
The other day, you got back from somewhere. It really made me laugh. You'd been to somewhere for lunch or something like that, and you were like, everyone was just so old. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Including you.
Including me, absolutely.
You don't feel that old, though. How old do you feel on the inside?
I don't feel old. You can't believe it. That's the great truth of it, isn't it? You can't believe it, that it's happened. You can't quite get your head around it. And then you realise that you don't work as well. Anyway,
it's just the fact that your body's slow. That's
slowed
all.
down.
The old brain still.
Yeah, pretty much touchwood, except remembering sometimes gets a bit tougher.
Yeah, I think that's just normal though.
I think so too.
Well. Okay, so we should probably do some cases.
Yes, well, I thought especially for you today, I'd do Victorian poisoners.
My favourite.
Yes, but these are American Victorian poisoners.
Even more fun.
And it is actually they're very, very interesting stories, both of them.
Have you given them a name?
Yeah, I think we'll call the first one Jolly Jane. And probably they'll both go under that title.
Jolly Jane.
Jolly Jane.
Okay, well, this is Jolly Jane.
Okay. Jane Toppan, always known as Jolly Jane, was born probably on the 31st of March, 1857 in Boston, Massachusetts. She became the first multiple female serial killer in the United States between 1895 and 1901. She confessed, we'll come to this at the end, to a number of murders, but is widely regarded as more prolific than that and probably killed at least 100 people. But let's tell the story. Jane Toppan was actually born Honora Kelly in Boston. She was daughter of Irish immigrants. A lot of people came after the potato famine in the United States. Her mother, Bridget, died of tuberculosis in the 1850s when she was tiny. And her father, Peter, was, an eccentric American alcoholic. They used to call him Peter the Crack, or Pete the Crack, because of Pete the Crackpot, because they thought he was completely crackers. But quite quickly, Pete the Crack couldn't cope. There were two daughters, Honora, who was only 6, and her elder sister, Delia, was 8, and they were sent in the 1860s to the Boston Female Asylum, which was effectively an orphanage. Reports suggest that Delia was to go on to become a sex worker. And there was another sister, the eldest sister called Nellie, who didn't actually get sent to the orphanage. She was set out. Eventually ended up in an insane asylum. It wasn't a happy childhood nor a settled one. Nevertheless, in 1862, some say, some in 1864, Honora was placed with a Mrs. Anne Topham as a maid, an indentured servant, as it was then called, effectively a skivvy we would call them. And she was in Lowell, Massachusetts. She was never formally adopted by Mrs. Toppan, but she took the name. And she added Jane because she liked the name herself. And she wanted to distance herself from her family. That was the whole point of changing her name. And Jane, as she became, was rather close to Mrs. Toppan's real daughter, Elizabeth. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It was servitude, but in quite a mild, rather sort of relaxed way. It wasn't very fierce. It wasn't sort of Downton Abbey. It was much more, well, you're welcome. You must help around the house and all of that. Except, I think Mrs. Toppan was fairly strict. But in about 1885, when Jane was in her 20s, she decided she'd become a nurse. And she went to train at the Cambridge Hospital in Massachusetts. You can see pictures of it online. By all accounts, she'd been what some describe as a brilliant but terrible young woman. But when she got to the hospital, she was well-liked, bright and friendly, and that's where she got the nickname, Jolly Jane. She was always very front foot. But during her residency and training, she liked to experiment with drugs on elderly patients. Not something with which we've become familiar, but never mind. And she liked, believe it or not, to get into bed with them. I'm not sure entirely why, but it'll become clear as the story goes on. Nevertheless, training went well. She got a job at the very prestigious Massachusetts General, which is famous to this day, in 1889. But it didn't last because she clearly was a bit strange. She kept on giving opiates to very old people, letting them go to the brink of death and bringing them back to life. That thing we've talked about.
Not the first time we've had this.
The angel of mercy syndrome.
Angel of death. Angel of mercy in this case, yeah.
Yes, but, godlike power. I can take your life and bring you back to life. I can take you. So she, I'm afraid, lost her job there, but she went back to where she'd trained in Cambridge. But I'm afraid they too thought she was a bit reckless with opiates, so she lost her job. But she was so popular, certainly even among the doctors, that she got recommended as a private nurse. So if you needed looking after, you were an old elder person, they would recommend Jolly Jane to you. Her killing spree began in 1895 when she killed her then landlord, a man called Israel Dunham, who was 85, and his wife. She said later, much later, that she was fed up with him being feeble and cranky. I think it was more to do with money, but never mind. That's what it was. And in 1899, she went on to kill her real sister, Elizabeth, Anne Topham's sister, that she'd been friendly with as a young woman. And I think the reason was she wanted to replace her. Jolly Jane had decided that Elizabeth had a much better life than she had. Elizabeth was married, children. So she thought, well, I think I'd like to replace her. And what's more, I'll nab her husband. So she poisons Elizabeth Toppan and insinuates herself so that she should become the next wife, the wife of... only Mrs. Topham's husband doesn't want her. And that makes her very, very, very angry. And so I'm afraid she goes on to try desperately to get into the household. She tries to get the husband to marry her, and then she poisons the housekeeper, kills the housekeeper, so that she can become the housekeeper, so that she's got to remain in the family.
The wheels are coming off, surely.
I'm sorry?
Are the wheels coming off a bit?
Well,
this stage
they're
or
beginning
not?
to. They're beginning. It's on the way. But nevertheless, undismayed, that plot's not quite worked. So off she goes and she sets her sights on another family. This one in 1901, a man called, is an elderly man again, called Alden Davis. And just to sort of add a little piquancy to this quite extraordinary story, she's killed his wife, Mattie, before moving in to replace the cuckoo in the nest syndrome, if you like.
Wow.
Within weeks of moving in, she's killed Davis, his sister Edna, and two of his daughters, both of whom were married, Minnie and Genevieve. An absolute spree. Well, the other members of the
Killed
Davis
them how?
poisoned them all.
With opiates?
No, with arsenic,
Okay.
but some with strychnine.
Right.
She was a liberal.
And no one's getting suspicious?
But the Davis family,
Right.
particularly the father-in-law of Minnie, one of the two married daughters that she also poisoned, I suspect she wanted to insinuate herself into the household again, and Alden Davis said no. And she got very, very angry. She might have looked jolly, but she certainly wasn't. And so the surviving members of the Davis family demand a toxicology report, as you might, given the fact that everybody's died in a great rush. And the father-in-law of Minnie finds that indeed Minnie has indeed been poisoned. And now the story gets a little blurred. Some say that the police had already taken an interest in Jolly Jane, but others that no, they didn't take an interest until after the toxicology report. The fact that four members of the same family died within a matter of days of each other, all poisoned, you would have thought would probably raise the interests of the authorities, wouldn't you? But it is still slightly blurred on that. But finally, on October the 29th, 1901, Jolly Jane is arrested. She's in her 40s. She's still smiling, still very cheerful. You look at a picture of her, she's this rather sort of quite well-rich woman, quite warm face, quite open. She doesn't look a least bit pinched or evil or sinister in any way. In fact, quite the opposite. And the following year, after a few months in custody, she confesses to 31 murders. So forget the Davis family, they're by the by. I mean, we've got a whole set of killings to which she admitted. And bits of her confession were published in William Randolph Hearst's newspaper, the New York Journal, claiming she'd killed people, but she wanted the jury to see her as sane so that she had a chance of release. Actually, not an unreasonable position, actually. In fact, at one point in the confession, she admitted to satisfying what she called a sexual fetish in the poisonings, and her ambition was to have killed more people, helpless people, than any other man or woman who ever lived. Got a complex
So
again?
she had a I was going to say motive, but that's not necessarily a motive,
motives.
is it?
We're coming to motives in a minute. In fact, when she went on trial, the trial only lasted 8 hours, and the jury took 27 minutes to find her insane.
Insane.
They did not find her
They
sane.
did not say she
They
was
found
sane.
her insane. And she was indeed duly sent to what was then the Taunton Insane Hospital, where she lived for many years. She didn't die until August the 17th, 1938, at the age of 81.
Wow.
She was still alive. And
She lived a long time
very,
in there.
and by all accounts, very cheerful. There was not she wasn't attacked with guilt or remorse or regret. Quite the contrary. The motives are still argued about to this day. Some suggest it was some kind of sexual fetish about wanting to fondle dying people. Another suggestion was that she liked to look into their eyes as they were dying so that she could see their soul.
Where are these suggestions coming from?
Well, a lot of people have written about her.
Okay.
Subsequently. She liked to, as we said earlier, she liked to bring people back to life and then help them to die. I think she often lay with the victims, holding them as they died. I think if we would now say it's a matter of our old friend, power and control.
I was going to say,
as in so many of these.
I was going to say it's a result of trauma.
It's there. But she also made a very odd statement quite near the end of her life. She claimed that the whole thing was a result of her being dumped as a girlfriend when she was 16. And she said, and I think it's fascinating this, if I had been a married woman with a child, I probably would not have killed all those people. I'm not sure that I believe it, but it's an interesting
it's
vision,
potential
isn't it?
That she feels that had such a significant impact on her that it was difficult for her to form a relationship and then have children, and so I don't
yes,
know,
she also liked to use poison to make herself more attractive. If a man was courting her, she'd poison herself for sympathy.
Oh, okay. Well,
you must look after me because
take care of me.
Take care of me.
She clearly was not that well.
No, I think you'd probably have found her insane, wouldn't you? But it's such a vivid case. I mean, she admitted to 31 murders.
She did also undergo a lot of trauma as a child. And we don't know what this thing was that happened when she was 16. So
no, we don't. We don't, and there's nowhere in these are not extremely well documented.
Although it's interesting that I feel far more compassionate to her than I do to another man who is traumatized as a child and then goes and commits lots of unpleasant murder. I've just got a soft spot for the.
Well, I think there was also too. It's very easy to talk about fetish and godlike symptoms, but I think there was also a bit of jealousy. A bit of, I think Elizabeth Toppan's killing was a matter of jealousy. She wanted to get rid of her and take over the family. There was a bit of greed as well. She's got a richer, better life than me, and I rather want that one. There's that.
Well, she's trying to fill a void, isn't she? It's the same as anything.
Yes,
you're
and
trying to fill a void. But
one of the things I think so interesting about Jolly Jane is that it's really quite difficult, certainly as a man, it's really quite difficult to see how that motivation, where all that motivation works, how it all works.
What do you mean?
Well, I think I don't quite understand it. I don't get, perhaps.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. That's the same as you saying, you could apply that to anyone. You could say the same thing about John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, well, I could, but I probably wouldn't. I think I understand a man better than a woman. Perhaps that's it. It's interesting, Mo, I've never written a book about a woman. I've only ever written about men.
Well, I mean, that's probably a good thing.
Mo, I don't know.
But I don't know. Yeah, maybe you naturally feel more...
sympathetic? Well, that's what you were saying
similar
about...
to me.
You feel more sympathetic to a woman than if this had been a man.
I don't feel sympathetic towards Lucy Letby, though.
No, I don't either. And that they're going to have to decide one way or another fairly soon about Lucy Letby because she clearly, the clamour is now growing about at least let's settle this one way or the other. And it's been very cleverly handled by her solicitors. Well, that's the first of these two American Victorian poisoners.
Yeah.
That's the one which is documented. The second one isn't as well documented, and that's where this concept of it being a myth comes into existence. This is a lady called Polly Bartlett, who was known as the murderess of Slaughterhouse Gulch. She was the first serial killer in what was then still Wyoming territory in the United States. And she killed with her father, Jim, 22 people altogether. the place that she killed, they had an inn outside somewhere called South Pass City, which is now a ghost town. But in those days, it was one of the railroad links, and it was road to the goldfields. We're talking about the gold rush. Mm-hmm. We're talking about millions of people rushing west in search of gold. We're talking about, effectively, she was born in the 1840s. Very little is known about her actual childhood, very little. And that's why this is all sometimes described as a myth and sometimes truth. It's hazy. Anyway, she said what happened was Polly and Jim ran a saloon in Ohio. And Polly, being, I think, a lady of some imagination, decided that if she could trap the punters by offering them sex, her father could then steal all their money.
Okay. It's not an unusual
method. Yeah. And indeed, the first time she actually killed was when the man, the traveller who'd come to the saloon, had $4,000 on him. Now that was an enormous amount of money. So quite quickly after his departure, Jim buried him, incidentally. They left and set up what became known as Bartlett's Inn outside South Pass City. And that was their killing zone. And they did it repeatedly. It was a very simple system. She lured travellers on their way to the gold mines or back from the gold mines into the stay in the inn, and she would offer them various blandishments, but especially food, sex, and whiskey. But she'd poisoned the whiskey with arsenic. So how exactly it happened, time after time, rich travellers seem to disappear.
Surely people are going to not want to go there.
Well, but that presumes that people know. But of course, whenever anybody said, whatever happened to...
Oh, I see. They just went off and never came back.
Yes, or the Indians had taken them, or outlaws had taken them. I mean, we are talking about 1860s. Yeah, they just disappeared, and oh dear, well, it's probably the Indians, or... well, it was quite difficult. However, they made a mistake, Jim and Polly. They happened to kill the son of one of the principal mine owners in the area, who was, and didn't, I mean, Jim used the same technique. I mean, they'd kill them and then they'd bury them round the inn. But this time, the father wants to investigate what happened to his son. So he hires Pinkerton's, the famous detective agency, to find Polly and what happened to my son. Well, when Polly and Jim realise that they're being sought by the local police after the Pinkerton man had advised the local authorities that he thought there was killing, they ran. And the authorities then began digging up the ranch, the inn.
And they found all these bodies.
Discovered 22 bodies.
Wow.
Well, this story gets it's a wonderful Wild West story. Eventually, a price is put on their head. And a man called Ed Ford, whose brother, fascinatingly, had disappeared at the inn in the hands of Polly and Jim, sets out to find them. It's his mission. He's going to claim the reward, which is substantial, but we don't know exactly what it was. And indeed, he tracks them down. And what's more, he shoots Jim dead. But not Polly. He wants the reward. So he takes Polly to the local authorities, to the police, and she's put in jail. It's the 7th of October, 1868. That night, a German man called Otto Kalkhorst shoots and kills Polly through the cell window. I mean, it's grand guignol, isn't it? Almost, she's killed. Clearly, Otto was angry about someone he'd known who'd had disappeared, and may well have been one of the bodies. He was a German-born man who worked in the mines for the mine owner, had set Pinkertons on them. But funnily enough, Otto wasn't charged by the first female justice of the peace in America, a woman called Esther Morris, so the society could cover up the case. And that's where the suggestion that it might be a myth came from.
Okay.
Because it was never properly documented. There was never a trial. But it's a very, very powerful myth, and it's been repeated many times, quite a lot in pulp Western magazines, because it's got such a lot of wonderful, extraordinary trappings to it. That's
a fun one. That feels like a drama.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I think there was an attempt to make a film about it one time, but I don't know if it ever happened. But it's got everything. It's got the Wild West. It's got gold rushes. It's got the railroad makes its first real appearance going west, going through Wyoming. New riches are everywhere, and Polly was Slaughterhouse Gulch. The Murderess of Slaughterhouse Gulch.
Very good.
So those are two American poisoners.
Wow, Jolly Jane and Polly and Jim.
Polly and Jim, yes.
Nice, thanks, Dad.
Well, I think they do make a nice change, don't they? It's a bit of a...
Yeah, I think there's something about time that makes things seem... I don't want to use the phrase less bad, but I don't know. I think the distance helps. From the crime to now.
Yes, I mean, we're talking about a century ago.
Yeah. So.
More in Polly's case, but at least a century in Jolly Jane's. But in many ways, the motives don't really change. You can see Jolly Jane's fascination with all that kind of fetish.
Yeah. I don't know if I completely agree with you. You put it so on like what she gets from the crime, whereas I put it more on like what happened to you to make you need to do that.
Yes, I understand.
I'd say need rather than like, but yeah.
Yes.
Like, I suppose.
Yes.
As in, like, I'm always thinking about but I mean, I know we've had the conversation many times, like, oh, not everyone who's dropped on their head as a baby ends up as a.
No.
No. But I do think you can probably find. Well, I'm interested in that. There's the two things, isn't there? It's how we're raised and what happens to us, and then it's who we are inherently when we're born, which is our own specific genetic makeup that is unique to each person. I'm
always trying to explain it, but sometimes things aren't explicable. Some people act in an extraordinary way.
Yeah, I think that's the distinguishing feature that I'm learning. Is like, well, that's just like who that person is. It's like how you are. So it's how you're made up, how you react to things, how you respond. Completely unique.
But as we've been saying to each other for a long time, classically, the female method of murder is poison, although increasingly in more recent years, it's become knives.
I don't know the statistics for that, but I'll take your word for it.
It's broadly, that's true.
Yeah.
But it's a strange one.
Yeah.
It's a strange one. Anyway, those are two Victorian poisoners for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Pleasure.
Have you got something jolly, not Jane related to tell me?
Well, what am I doing? Yes. Nothing particularly jolly this week. I mean, it's an ordinary week. I'm not complaining. I'm not, no right to complain. But apart from reading books and sorting out podcasts and sorting out World's Most Evil Killers again, and it's lots of lovely things this week. Racecourse Ascot. The cricket begins. India.
Oh yes, lots of fun things.
India and England start.
I'm going to the cricket this year.
The first test starts on Friday.
Oh, nice. I'm going in July.
Good.
I mean, it's not that far off. I'm going on the 12th.
No, it's not far off. You're seeing India
At Lord's.
at Lord's. Yeah. Well, that's lovely.
With my friend.
We used to go to the cricket, didn't we?
We did, yeah. You took me to Lord's for the first time when I was 16, I think.
Yeah. Yes. And we used to get Johnny Dennis's tickets. Do you remember?
Yeah. I know, I do. Well, I actually didn't go on Johnny Dennis's tickets that many times. You actually took me to the Allen stand, I think, a few times.
Yes.
I think I sat in Johnny's seats a couple of times. Maybe once we were just me and Dan also.
I think maybe, yes, once. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're going to see India. That'll be very exciting.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking
Which
forward
day
to
are
it.
you going?
Saturday.
Oh, well, wonderful.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully England won't have lost by then.
Okay. Good. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you to all the people that help us. Our producer, Peter, my brother, Dan, who did the music, my friend, George, who drew our caricature, to Geoffrey for all the hard work, and to the listeners, thank you so much.
Thank you all, yes. And although Molly says it's a lot of hard work, it's also incredibly enjoyable. I do find it very interesting to look at the cases. But as these two prove, bad things happen to good people, so do be careful out there.